So there's this trend that's been going around on the internet recently. But before I tell you about this trend, if you're watching this video, your attention span probably sucks. But well done on you that you're watching this video to try to improve your attention span. But if your attention span sucks, then you need to take what I say seriously. Don't jump around on this video. Don't go down into the comments. Maybe you're listening to what I'm saying in the comments right now. Get out of the comments. Get out of jumping around. Full screen this video. Stare me right in the eyes and listen to what I'm going to tell you. Because give me 10 to 15 minutes of your time, and I guarantee I will give you hundreds of hours back of your life if you take what I say seriously. Because many people these days, most people, their attention span is screwed. So I'm gonna get straight into it. So yeah, there's this trend that I've been seeing going around on the internet recently. Basically, it's a trend where people go onto long haul flights, so like 8+ hour flights, and they sit down in their chairs in the flight and they do nothing. They don't watch movies, they don't read books, they don't listen to movies. They literally just sit down in their chairs in the movie and they just stare at the flight map, or they stare at the instructions, at the flight instructions. And it's like, they're like, bro, new PR, 20-hour flight, no, nothing, just my thoughts. And so there's this trend that's been going around. And I find this pretty funny because about 5 years ago, before I started using my smartphone a lot, I used to go on a lot of flights with my family. And everyone on the flight would be using the in-flight entertainment movie system, and they'd be watching movies. But I was never really interested in watching movies on flights. I don't know why, something about it made me feel sick, I don't know. But what I used to do on flights is I would do exactly that. We would go on 12-hour, 10-hour flights, from Australia to the UK or something, Indonesia to Europe or whatever. And I would just stare at the flight map for the entire flight, and I'd just be thinking about random shit. So to me, this was completely normal. This is what I used to do all the time. But these days, in the modern day, this is considered a difficult thing. To literally sit down and do nothing is considered a difficult thing. Now I'm going to tell you in a bit how this relates to attention span, but this is I find it crazy that we literally can't sit down and do nothing. It's difficult for us. It's painful. And this is the root of why when we sit down to study, why when we try to do something difficult, we get bored and we want to go do other stuff. It's because we can't sit down in that boredom and do this stuff. And it relates to our attention span. So I'm going to explain that to you in this video right now. First, I want to tell you why your attention span sucks. And it's not your fault. But first of all, give me 10 seconds. I just want to plug something of mine. So first of all, I've got a free Discord server right now. I want to talk to you guys, and you can meet like-minded people. Check out the description, free Discord server. And one other thing, if you are an educational YouTuber trying to grow your YouTube channel, check out that first link in the description. I've got a group where I help people grow their YouTube channels, and you can meet like-minded people. Anyway, back to the video. So why does your attention span suck? Well, it's not your fault. The fault lies in the modern day. So everything in the modern day is trying to catch your attention. You walk down the street, there's a million advertisements flying around. You go into social media, every single reel is trying to grab your attention. Bro, this video is trying to grab your attention. If you notice the hook I said in the beginning of this video, it was trying to grab your attention. Now, attention is not a bad thing, but this is the thing. Everything is getting so competitive for attention these days because companies want your attention because that's how they make money. So things are getting more and more stimulating these days because they're trying to grab your attention. Bro, I watched Spider-Man a couple months ago, one of the new Spider-Man movies. And there's 5 plot lines going on at the same time in that movie because they're really trying to capture your attention. They're using that TikTok method where they're trying to keep you entertained, keep your attention going everywhere as much as possible because that's how they keep your attention. So, but here's the problem. When your attention is getting pulled everywhere. So I want you to imagine this. If you are training your brain to repeatedly pull your attention everywhere, then when you sit down to do something that requires keeping your attention in one place, for example, studying, talking to a loved one, doing some hard work, since your brain is used to getting your attention pulled everywhere, you're going to sit down to study and you're going to feel painful. You're going to feel bored because you're used to having your attention pulled everywhere. So there's this concept in neurobiology called neurons that fire together, wire together. So what this means in this situation is the more you fire together those neurons of having your attention pulled everywhere, about switching, it's called context switching. When you're used to switching context very, very fast, like when you scroll on TikTok, 1 second you're in France looking at a beautiful ocean. The next second you're seeing a guy working out. The next second a guy's hyping you up to go do some work. You're switching context every 60 seconds. When you do this over and over and over again, those neurons in your brain fire together. And the more they fire together, the more you do context switching, the more they wire together. So when you sit down to try to focus on something for a long period of time, your brain is used to switching context. So it's going to try to seek that. It's going to feel painful. It's going to feel bored. So in a bit, I'll tell you how to fix this. You can literally start fixing it today. But this is the thing. It's not your fault. The modern day has set us up to have terrible attention spans because that's in the best interest of every single company. Before the modern day, before the internet, 100 years ago plus, humans never switched context that frequently. Like 100 years ago, imagine the average person. When would they ever come into a situation where they would be seeing a brand new context every 60 seconds? Pretty much never, right? The only time there would be a context switch would be when they walked into a room, when, a spontaneous event happened or something. Like the best way you could overstimulate yourself, except for drugs, the only way you could really overstimulate yourself was if you bought like 50 books, you laid them out on the floor, and you like read every book. You jumped around reading every single book. You read one book, you pet the dog, you read another book, you talk to a guy, But it's not even anything compared to the overstimulation and the context switching you get on like Instagram, TikTok, video games, all these things. This is why the modern day sets us up to have terrible attention spans. This is why 99% of people these days can't even focus for like 10 minutes on their study, on their work. Or they can't even read. Many people can't read these days. It's so sad. It's because their attention span is fried. Most people can't even watch a movie without using their phone at the same time. Most people can't shower without listening to something. But this is also a good thing. Because, bro, if you can improve your attention span a little bit, if you can get to the ability where you can literally just focus on one thing for an extended period of time, you are going to achieve a lot of great things because it's a very rare skill these days. It's a very rare skill to be able to focus. So in my opinion, this might be a controversial opinion, but in my opinion, getting A's in university in any degree is not difficult. All you need to do is just spend time on it. I guarantee if you spend a ton of time on your university, you will do well. It's inevitable. I know that sounds obvious, but here's the thing. Most people can't even focus. So if you just learn to focus and you put in the time required, you can do well in university, you can do well in business, you can do well in anything. So this is the secret skill you need. So now I'm going to tell you the exact steps to fix your attention span. So like I said, attention span is the results of you training your brain to switch context really often, to jump your attention very, very fast. And when you sit down to do something for an extended period of time, you get the feeling of boredom. So the first thing to understand, this is what I've learned from like the scientist Cal Newport, scientist Andrew Huberman, all these guys, a guy called Kyle Gillette, a bunch of these scientists are talking about this. Boredom is basically, when you feel boredom is actually not a bad thing. Boredom is just your brain trying to push you to do these highly stimulating things, to pull your attention everywhere. So here's what you need to do. This is what they say. This is what Cal Newport calls it. You need to embrace boredom. Boredom is the secret to improving your attention span. So when you sit down to study, to focus on something for a long period of time and you get bored and it's painful, if you push through that boredom and you focus on that thing for a long period of time, remember earlier I said neurons that fire together wire together? So when you sit down and you try to focus on something for a long period of time, you are firing the neurons required to keep your focus on one thing. And the more you fire those neurons required to focus on one thing, the more they wire together and you will actually start to get good at it. So what does this mean? This means your attention span is a muscle. So how do you train a muscle? Let's give an example. So you've got your abs, right? Which is a muscle. Let's say you want to train your abs. Let's say you want to do an exercise, the plank. You know the plank, right? Where you lie down and you try to balance yourself. How do you get stronger ab muscles? So let's say right now you can plank for 60 seconds. Well, to improve your ab muscles, to get stronger, Next time you plank for 70 seconds, and then 80 seconds, 90 seconds, etc. You improve how long you plank, and your ab muscles will get stronger and stronger, right? Well, same thing with attention span. If you simply force yourself to pay attention to one thing for longer and longer periods of time. So right now you're paying attention to something for, let's say, 60 seconds because you're on TikTok. Well, if you sit down and study for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you're pushing your brain beyond its abilities. You're planking for a longer period of time than you've done in the past. You're rewiring your neurons to focus for longer periods of time. So yeah, like I said, embrace boredom. Realize that the feeling of boredom is your brain rewiring itself to focus for longer periods of time. So I'm not telling you to completely stop using TikTok, to completely stop using these highly stimulating things. I'm simply telling you to decrease the short attention span things you're doing and increase the high attention span things you're doing. So here's the exact thing you do. You sit down and you try to study for long periods of time. And when you're feeling bored, when you're feeling painful, you tell yourself, this is good. This pain is my attention span increasing. This pain is like the pain of doing a plank. It's my muscles growing. It's my brain growing. And bro, you don't even have to focus and embrace boredom and focus. For example, if you go to the toilet and you feel bored and you don't go to your phone, then you are also rewiring your neurons to be able to focus for longer periods of time because you're embracing boredom. So the more you embrace boredom, the more you will strengthen your brain. So next time you feel bored or you are standing in line and you want to reach out to your phone, embrace that boredom, sit there, and it will give you benefits in the long run because you'll be able to focus for longer periods of time. You'll be able to get more done. You'll be able to get higher grades. You'll be able to get more money in your business. You'll be able to focus on your loved ones for longer periods of time. And this is the kind of lifestyle that I like to live. I like to live, mind the vulgar language, but I like to raw dog reality. So these days, whenever we're standing in line, whenever we're sitting down on the couch, whenever we've got a spare minute, we're pulling out our phone and we're stimulating ourselves. I like to live the kind of lifestyle where I merely use my phone as a tool, not as something to run away from reality. So if there is something that I have to do on my phone, fair enough, I'll use it. But if I've got a spare minute, if I'm sitting there and I've got nothing to do, instead of just reaching for my phone straight away, I'm embracing that boredom. I'm sitting there and I call it like old man vibes. An old man, an old man in the park, what does he do? He sits there on the bench and he just stares out into the distance. And that's it. That's all he does. Because he is living completely in the world. He's not pulling out his phone and going on his phone to run away from the world. He's living in the world. Now, I'm not saying you have to be like a monk and just sit there bored all day. But I'm saying make this your default move. When you're bored for a couple seconds, instead of your default move being to pull out your phone, make your default move to be bored, to embrace boredom. And after a while, the boredom will go away because you are rewiring your brain to be able to focus on things for longer periods of time, to be able to actually enjoy boredom. And boredom will stop being this concept that's in your life. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything. I still do mindlessly scroll on my phone all the time. But the more you live this lifestyle of just embracing the world, embracing boredom, the better your attention span will get. You'll actually be able to focus on things very, very soon. So see you later.